What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. So Anuj and I are just sitting here and we're having a conversation. He's leaving for India in a couple of days, going back to the motherland. And I asked him, like, hey, have you packed yet? And he's like, no, not yet. And I was like, yeah, usually, young guys wait until the very last second, myself included. Like, no purpose and no point in packing any sooner than that. That we talked about our process for packing, and I realized that I have a very different method, a very different technique for packing for trips that as I explained it to him, he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I explained the rationale behind it and he goes, oh, well, I didn't even think about that. Like, kind of game changer. So here's how I used to do it. Like, when I'd go on a trip, if it's a 2-day trip, I would just pull out my backpack and I would throw my stuff in there, right? I'd be like, oh, I need my toothbrush, I need my computer, I need this charger, I need a couple of shirts. And what would end up happening is it would take me a long time to pack. Like, it took me longer because I'd sit there and be like, okay, I need a shirt, I need pants, what else do I need? And then I'd get on the trip and I would usually have overpacked, if anything. I'd usually have taken too much stuff. I'd get there and be like, why did I bring 5 shirts for a 2-day trip and only 1 pair of pants? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so what I started to do was I created a checklist for myself, a checklist for a 2-day trip, for a 5-day trip, for, a 7-day plus trip. So each one is very, very different. And the beauty of this checklist is I can pack really quickly now. So instead of sitting there and thinking about what all do I need to do, like, do I need this? Have I grabbed that yet? Do I need that thing? I just go through the checklist and it's like, for a 2-day trip, I know if I'm going on that trip, I'm going to need this, 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 and this, and this. I can pack it super quickly. Now that's great, right? And he was just like, hey, that's pretty cool. But that's not the reason why this is super powerful. The reason this is super powerful, and the lesson that we can take and apply to the other areas of our life and to our business, is that when you have a checklist like this, you have systematized the process of packing for a trip. You can give it to somebody else and they can pack for your trip for you. Right. And so if I'm running late, if I'm busy or I just don't feel like doing it, I can give my checklist. I could give it to Anuj and be like, Anuj, can you go pack my bags for my trip for next week? He could go do it. Right. And he goes, oh, wow, I haven't thought about that. And it's like, that's how you should think about everything in your life that you don't like doing. Everything can be systematized. It can be boiled down to a checklist, to a process that if you have it codified, you could then hand it to somebody else and they could do it for you. That's the key to building a successful business. And I think it's a reason a lot of us struggle is because we do these repetitive activities and we never stop to think, number one, how could I systematize this? And number two, what would it look like for me to not be the one doing this? Right. And so it starts with create the system, the process for it, document the process, then give it to somebody else, train them on it, and then entrust them to it. Like, that's how you delegate within a business. And it makes it really obvious when you're looking at it in the context of like accounting or bookkeeping or, customer service or any of that stuff. Like, but less obvious is, what do you do when you go on a trip? How do you pack for it? And it's like, I never stopped to think that 99% of what I pack on each trip is the same stuff. There might be some slight variation, but generally it's all the same stuff. So take this lesson. Number one, go build your travel checklist. It's going to, even if you're the one that's doing it, even if you don't have an assistant yet, you can do it yourself much faster than you would before. Number two is start looking at other areas of your life and your business that you do repeatedly and you just have never stopped to consider. What would it look like for me to systematize this and then outsource it? And even if you have no intention of delegating it right now, just having it documented so that you could delegate it in the future, game changer. So let me know. Did you find any value in this? Do you have a checklist that you use before you go on a travel or doing any stuff around the house? Let me know. Shoot me a comment down below. Leave a review. Do all the things. Push all the buttons. Get crazy. You just listen to a 5-minute podcast. The least you could do is just go push some buttons. Maybe some of them are thumbs up. Some of them are thumbs down. It doesn't really matter to me. Engagement's engagement. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate you guys being here. So I'll catch you in the next episode.